I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the real ones suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All these salty motherfuckers could give up.
Politics and sinners, they all the same.
Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up,
won't play the role.
Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the receipts. I just want all of humanity to be free.
Good morning. Oh shit. Didn't realize it was on over here. Good morning. I hope everybody is. It's Thursday. And you are welcome to the Urban Conservative. Today we're talking about burn patterns, blood money, and power grabs. The truth they don't want you to know. And with that being said, man, I'm going to get into my intro. I got a new album out. You can go right here, right now. It will be out on all streaming platforms next week. But for right now, you can go to Bandcamp. And for $12, you can buy my CD. Got plenty of other stuff on there. Plenty of hits. So if you go over there, download it, I put it up there. I'll be going back and forth, but I want you to listen to intro, Truth to Power. So here you go. Black Lives Matter, that's not up for debate. Too many lives lost to systems built on hate. I'm not saying every badge hides crooked intent, but where's the justice when blood pays the rent? They tell us be patient, but patient has rotted. Generations have bought their pleas all but forgotten. They kneel on our necks, they silence our breath, while the system absolves them, endorsing our death. It's the Urban Conservative. Y'all know I speak my truth. In the dark or the light, it's only right. Let's go! It's time to fight. Yeah, hella nights, don't sit tight. Hella scams and hella industries. Who holds the lock and key? Corporations hold a noose around the nation. No time for celebration. Wrap your head around your own key. Take care of thee, and God keep on watching over me. Snitches from 68, no different from scammers at off of 2023. See, time will tell who reigns the king. I polish and kiss my ring. That holds the bond of respect and loyalty to my family, my wife and kids, and me ultimately. Cause if I don't stand up, who gon' follow? Truth to power, truth to power, truth to power, stand and plan. Truth to power, stand and plan. Only hold the keys to unlock the power within. Truth to power, stand and plan. Truth to power, stand and plan. Truth to power, only hold the keys to unlock the power within. Truth to power. It ain't just myself that that takes care of me. We a community. I call out snitches so we can avoid stitches. So if you don't listen, that's your fault. But I called it out. Tired of niggas searching for the clout. But hey, don't hold truth to power. Just fake and phony by the hour. Give me some rounds of doubt and I'll take you down. Cause ain't no time for fear here or around. It's time to get down. It's time to get down.
Grow the fuck up.
Time to get down. Truth to power. Stand and plan. Truth to power. Stand and plan. Only hold the keys to unlock the fire within. Truth to power. Stand and plan. Truth to power. Stand and plan. Truth to power. Only hold the keys to unlock the fire within. It ain't just myself that takes care of me. It ain't just myself that takes care of me. Take care of thee, and God keep on watching over me.
Get it together.
Take care of thee, and God keep on watching over me.
Get it together.
It ain't just myself that takes care of me. We a community. I call out snitches so we can avoid stitches. So if you don't listen, that's your fault, but I called it out. Tired of niggas searching for the clout. But hey, don't hold truth to power. Just fake and phony by the hour. Give me some rounds of doubt, and then I'll take you down. Cause ain't no time for fear around here. It's time to get down to business. You wanna miss it, pre-2020, but you can't. The stolen lands hold their future plans. If we get left behind, I'll take the truth and stand. Shit, take your chance. Now's the time. Face the fear and protect your land. Face the fear and protect your land. Truth to power, stand and plan. Truth to power, stand and plan. Only hold the keys to unlock the fire within. Truth to power, stand and plan. Truth to power, stand and plan. Only hold the keys to unlock the fire within. So let's stand and win. Hey, that's the conservative intro, Truth to Power. That's out on Bandcamp right now, and it will be on all streaming platforms next week. Man, I just want to say that. Damn, I'm so that trips me out, right? But you already know what we're going into today. We're talking about burn patterns, blood money, and power grabs. The truth they don't want you to know. And I want to talk about the origins, right? The origins of policing. How did we get to the place where a badge in its history, right? The slave badge, everything that we sit here and we say that we're actually kind of, we say that we're fighting, but we don't ever see no change, right? So that's what I want to talk about is the origins of the U.S. law, right? Is where is the racism? Where does the systemic patterns, practices, do they come in play, right? So let's go back in, because if we don't understand where we came from, we won't understand where we're going, right? And we don't understand where we're fighting today if we don't know how they got here today, right? So that's what I want to talk about. So let's get into here, the origin or the racist origins of U.S. law.
What is the function of the law? When asked this question, most of us would answer easily, laws are intended to maintain order and promote justice, and as members of society, we uphold them. But what happens when those laws promote and spread discrimination and bigotry? In this episode of Origin of Everything, we'll be analyzing the discriminatory history of US law, tracing its origins in colonialism to the present-day penal system. In order to deconstruct this troubling history, we'll be looking at 4 distinct time periods of US law. First, we'll look at the foundation of legal discrimination based on race during colonialism. Next, we'll examine the system of chattel slavery to see how the legacies of colonialism translated into ongoing legal subjugation for Black subjects in the US. Third, we'll explore how Jim Crow laws extended legal discrimination into the 20th century. And finally, we'll discuss how the concepts of being tough on crime in the latter half of the 20th and early 21st century allowed the continuation and expansion of discriminatory laws under the umbrella of mass incarceration. By tracing this timeline, we'll be looking at the ways discriminatory legal practices have always disproportionately impacted Black and brown communities, and how these legacies and laws continue to have adverse effects on vulnerable communities to this day.
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for $160,000. If you're looking to get money.
But before we get into the heart of how laws and sentencing structures can be discriminatory, we should clarify a few key terms, namely crime and punishment. And no, I'm not talking about the Dostoevsky novel of the same name. I'm talking about crime or breaking of laws and punishment, as in the penalty you pay as a result of being found guilty of committing a crime. Although we often think of these things as directly correlated, think of the old adage, if you do the crime, you've got to do the time, there's actually not a direct relationship between how much crime is committed and what types of punishment are meted out. In his book, Thinking About Crime, Sense and Sensibility in American Penal Culture, Professor Michael Tonry notes that nations with remarkably similar crime rates often have vastly different sentencing and punishment standards. He determines that crime rates and punishment rates often don't align, and that governments decide how much punishment they want. He writes, "This can be seen by comparing crime and punishment trends in Finland, Germany, and the United States between 1960 and 1990. The trends are close to identical. Violent crime rates in all three countries grew by a factor of 3 to 4, and homicide rates more than doubled. Yet the US imprisonment rate quadrupled in that period, the Finnish rate fell by 60%, and the German rate was broadly stable." So in this example, we see three countries with almost identical crime trends, with three starkly different ideas of punishment. Therefore, when we analyze how laws are broken and punishment is assigned, we have to look at why societies change their stances on crime and punishment. Tonry attributes this to a few factors, two important ones being moral panics and the sensibilities of a society. Moral panics, as he describes them, occur when a society sees a moral or social issue and overreacts as a result, which usually leads to increased rates of punishment or more severe punishment for offenders. Another cause is that societal sensibilities, or the attitudes and beliefs of the society, often change, which in turn changes the types of acts we consider crimes and the types of things we consider as just punishment. So although we're often taught to look at crime as directly correlated to punishment, there's actually an argument to be made that they're working somewhat independently of each other. Which brings us to our first stop in the history of legal discrimination in the United States: colonialism and slavery. After colonies were established in North America, colonists were subject to the laws and customs of England. In their essay, Situating Colonialism, Race, and Punishment, Professors Gita Chowdhury and Mark Beeman explain how the development of slavery in the North American colonies, and later in the early United States, became dependent on the passage of discriminatory laws that specifically targeted people of African descent. They detail how, although the concept of discrimination based on ethnic or social groups dates back to antiquity, the idea that race was entirely based on skin tone and physical features evolved alongside the emergence of chattel slavery. Then the ideal was solidified with the emergence of scientific racism in the 18th and 19th centuries. Chowdhury and Beeman go on to note that although some of the original people of African descent who entered the English colonies came as indentured servants and were eventually set free, similar to English indentured servants, this quickly changed when colonists turned to chattel slavery as a source of consistent, exploited, and unpaid labor. They write, "In other words, slavery seems to have evolved, in part, as a punishment reserved for Africans originally indentured. English indentured servants, presumably protected by English rights and the Christianity they shared with their masters, avoided such punishment. From the 1640s through the 1660s, with the principle of lifelong involuntary servitude established for Africans in colonial America, individual colonies began enacting legislation declaring Negroes sent to the colonies and their offspring slaves for life. In short, slavery in British colonial America became a punishment for being black." With this important distinction, colonial America created the system of chattel slavery that sentenced black people to perpetual servitude. Slavery created an explicit relationship between race and the law from the earliest foundations of American society. And this new legal category meant that new forms of punishment and torture were invented to accommodate this shift in who could be considered a full person under the law. Soon, laws and colonial codes were written to regulate the control and punishment of the enslaved. Although slavery was not the first instance of race being tied to laws in the new colonies, the colonization of land in North America was based on the assumption that Native Americans did not have rights to the land they had inhabited long before settler colonialism declared North America as uninhabited. Therefore, laws that allowed white settlers to displace and physically harm Native Americans also established an early relationship between race and the law in colonial America. While most punishment was left up to slave owners and could include torture, brutal beatings, rape, and other inhumane cruelties, more serious punishment, such as execution, was sometimes left up to the discretion of judges for supposed offenses that occurred away from the plantation. But whether it was being dealt by overseers and owners or by the state, the result was a system of exploitation and legally supported subjugation that left black subjects almost entirely outside of the protections of the law. This system remained firmly in place in parts of the United States until 1865, with the ratification of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. But even these newly won freedoms could not guarantee the continuation of legal and extra-legal methods of racial and social control. Following the close of the Civil War in 1865, the U.S. entered into a period known as Reconstruction, which lasted until the 1870s. Although there were some legal and societal victories for black subjects during this time, they were swiftly overturned and replaced by Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow introduced a set of laws that systematically stripped black citizens of their rights while also relegating them to inferior, separate but equal public facilities like schools, washrooms, and sections of the bus, among other indignities. Black citizens were denied access to basic rights like voting, while also suffering under the weight of racial terror imposed by groups like the KKK and other white supremacists who organized lynchings and other forms of racialized violence. Jim Crow laws effectively relegated black subjects to second-class citizenship based on a racialized caste system where white citizens were privileged above all others. This system of disenfranchisement was also supported by methods of financial control like sharecropping, which effectively reinstated the financial inequity of slavery through unfair practices. And systems like convict leasing guaranteed that black people would be returned to a system almost identical to slavery in everything but name. With convict leasing, private businesses could rent the labor of prisoners to complete tasks. The businesses would pay the state, and the prisoners would be forced to perform labor for free. As a result, Southern states started incarcerating newly emancipated black citizens at a higher rate, for anything from petty theft to vagrancy to other vaguely defined laws. This practice lasted from the late 19th century into the early 20th century. For more on the convict leasing system, check out our episode, Why Do We Have Private Prisons?, right here on our channel. The story of Jim Crow finally came to an official end with the emergence of the modern civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, when civil rights leaders and activists fought to have these decades-long practices rolled back. But that only led to new ways of racialized legal discrimination. In her book, The New Jim Crow, legal scholar, civil rights lawyer, and advocate Michelle Alexander details the relationship between race and continued legal discrimination in the form of mass incarceration. In the 1960s, the prison population in the United States was around 200,000, but by the early 2000s, that number had exploded to over 1.5 million people in prison, with hundreds of thousands in other penal facilities. Think youth facilities, jails, and immigrant detention centers. And much of that increase can be attributed to Reagan-era war on drugs policies, although the war on drugs was first popularized by the Nixon administration in the 1970s. Popular wisdom connects these policies to the rise of crack cocaine across the US. However, according to Alexander, the official political campaign in 1982, known as the War on Drugs, actually predates the rise of crack cocaine addiction it was commonly assumed to address. She writes, "A few years after the drug war was declared, crack began to spread rapidly in the poor black neighborhoods of Los Angeles and later emerged in cities across the country. The Reagan administration hired staff to publicize the emergence of crack cocaine in 1985 as part of a strategic effort to build public and legislative support for the war. The media campaign was an extraordinary success. The media bonanza surrounding the new demon drug helped to catapult the war on drugs from an ambitious federal policy to an actual war. Because of its cheaper price, crack cocaine use spread more rapidly in poor communities than its more expensive counterpart powder cocaine. After the war on drugs picked up popularity and speed, we began to see the rapid incarceration of minorities, oftentimes for non-violent drug-based offenses as a result. And those arrested for crack cocaine-related charges face much more severe sentences compared to other drug offenses. For example, it was common practice to follow the 100-to-1 rule. An op-ed in the New York Times explains, "In what's known as the 100-to-1 rule, federal law mandates a 10-year sentence for anyone caught with 50 grams of crack, about the weight of a candy bar. To get a comparable sentence, a dealer selling powdered cocaine would have to be caught with 5,000 grams, enough to fill a briefcase.
Are you a YouTuber? Here's how you can grow your YouTube following, even
Yeah,
if you currently have zero.
I'm zero.
This wasn't rolled back until 2010 when Congress passed the Fair Sentencing Act. The act reduced the disparities between sentencing for crack and powder cocaine from 100 to 1 to 18 to 1. But despite the partial reversal of war on drugs, the US still imprisons people per capita and overall than any other country in the world. And although African Americans made up only roughly 13% of the US population in the 2010 census, in many areas they are the majority of the prison population, even though they are not necessarily committing crime at a higher rate than white populations. As a result, Alexander writes, although this new system of racialized social control purports to be colorblind, it creates and maintains racial hierarchy much as earlier systems of control did. Like Jim Crow and slavery, mass incarceration operates as a tightly networked system of laws, policies, customs, and institutions that operate collectively to ensure the subordinate status of a group defined largely by race. In her book, she details the ways that those who are convicted of crimes are permanently labeled as felons and thus systematically barred from access to the full rights of citizenship through processes like employment discrimination, being denied the right to vote, and being excluded from jury duty, although some activist groups are fighting to reverse or lessen these discriminations. So this episode just scratches the surface of the ways that laws can be established to promote unequal life outcomes for different citizens based on race. We haven't even begun to cover other forms of legal and extra-legal discrimination that occur on the basis of gender, immigration status, sexuality, and class, not to mention other minority groups that have been exposed to increased policing, surveillance, and punishment as a result of legal discrimination. It also raises fundamental questions about the law, namely who is it meant to protect and at whose expense are some of these policies enacted. My hope is that this serves as a productive primer to the ways that law can be manipulated to serve certain groups over others, and will inspire us all to remain dedicated to recognizing and standing against injustice wherever it arises.
And that's what I mean is like standing wherever you are, if you're in California, if you're in Texas, like all these things are happening for a reason. It's not just a coincidence. It's not just, nature just being nature. Because how is it that these storms are getting more powerful, but yet everything that we do, because I will tell you like this, it's like everything that we have been doing, no matter if it comes to climate change, no matter if it comes to changing the weather, it always seems like we're always doing something. It doesn't matter. We throw money at it, but then it gets worse. I know that's not a word, but it gets worse. And it makes me wonder, like, what the hell are we doing? Because we're not making anything safer. How many houses have been crumbled, demolished, and torn apart? And yet we're already dealing with homelessness. We're dealing with people that can't feed themselves. It's about survival. And we're still here having arguments and dividing people and making people forget what's really going on, because it's a whole, we all seen the videos. We can't sit here and say, oh, it's not happening. I'm going to say it like this. Last night I was sent something and I couldn't sleep for shit. So I got up to read and I went down a rabbit hole, you know what I'm saying? And it really tripped me out. And I want people to see, because is this a coordinated disaster, right? Is it coordinated of where it's to depopulate an area, to rebuild something? We all know California is a shithole. And I literally mean that, because by policies, they're all doing all this sanctuary things, right? But what about America? That's the crazy thing of it is, this is going to be one of the worst disaster. They want to call it natural, right? They want to call it like any of this shit is something that is the hands of Mother Nature, right? Mother Nature doesn't start, she does, but not purposely She doesn't purposely start fires. That's human mistake. You know what I'm saying? It's something that we've done. Not that Mother Nature did. You know what I'm saying? She didn't put, electrical wires, and she's just doing what she does by wind, hurricane. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're so quick to blame others and I will never understand that, right? So I want to talk about what's going on in California, right? The wildfires. So I found this video and they're talking about the insurance, and they're abandoning places due to natural disasters. And why is that? Because we're not protecting people that live in those areas. And again, I'm going to ask, why is that?
Wildfires are not just a concern here. Fires have burned more than 1 million acres in California so far this year. That is larger than the entire state of Rhode Island. Natural disasters like that have insurance companies abandoning some areas entirely. In multiple states, including Oregon, reporter Suni Sai shows us how some homeowners are struggling to find coverage.
Here right now in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, California, and as you can see behind me, I am surrounded by mountains. This community was home to the largest wildfire in LA County history nearly a decade ago. Wildfires in Southern California have gotten worse over the years, and some insurance companies have had enough.
The premiums more than doubled, but our coverage was cut in half. So this was the perfect storm of bad.
Steve Archer is the president of the HOA for his community in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, California. He says folks here have tried to protect the area from disaster.
We have new roofs on every one of our buildings here. We've done a lot of extensive tree trimming, seismic shutoff valves that are tripped by an earthquake in order to stop the gas flow.
Farmers Insurance has covered the community for 2 decades, but in July, the company called it quits. That left the community scrambling for coverage.
After an intensive search, we ended up with the California Fair Plan, which is kind of the last resort for people. So our premiums went from $70,000 to $170,000. Our coverage was $45 million, liability coverage and wildfire insurance for our homeowners association, common area, and our buildings. And the Fair Plan has a maximum coverage of $20 million.
This means less coverage for more money.
We've seen some people's insurance go from $2,000 to $6,000 a year for their homeowners policies, some to $8,000.
Of the top 12 insurance companies in the state, only 5 are still writing new policies. One local insurance company blames California's regulations.
Right now, there's a ton of regulations for an insurance carrier. If they want to raise their rates, they submit their rates to the Department of Insurance. It can take 3 years. Well, those rates they're worthless, but they're outdated. They're not really where they need to be.
Looking ahead, the National Interagency Fire Center projects parts of Southern California and Texas to have an above normal risk for November.
That's crazy. And I mean, it's like, how do we protect ourselves if the government isn't even willing to? We pay all this money, but as you can see, there's loopholes. They find it so they don't have to. And it really makes me wonder. So I'm going to get into it again some more about how the government caused another crisis of something that we could have prevented, but because of failed policies and because people weren't paying attention, you know what I'm saying, we came to this again. So
insurers are fired up about California regulations, and they're right. Hello, I'm Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate these turbulent times. California is facing an insurance crisis for homeowners as well as for commercial businesses. More and more underwriters are refusing to sell new policies. The latest is State Farm, the largest provider of home insurance in California and the U.S. It recently announced that it has stopped accepting new applications for all personal and business property and casualty insurance within the state of California. Existing policies won't be affected. State Farm isn't alone. Allstate, the 4th largest provider in the state, has ceased selling new home insurance policies last year. Chubb, AIG, and other underwriters have also been scaling back. These pullbacks will particularly hurt home buyers and small businesses, delivering another blow to a state facing a huge and expanding budget deficit. With insurance availability shrinking, would-be home purchasers can turn to the state's Fair Access Insurance Requirements Plan. FAIR. FAIR is a last resort, expensive, bare-bones insurance seller that covers mainly fire losses. Because the state's perverse, counterproductive regulations, FAIR plan enrollments have exploded, almost doubling since 2019. FAIR is supposed to be actuarially sound and is funded by assessments on private insurers. But typical of government, the plan has a big deficit. Combined with more desperate would-be home buyers turning to FAIR, this means more assessments on current providers, expenses regulators won't let insurers recover. What's happening in California should be a wake-up call for the all too many politicians and regulators who indulge in make-believe policies that end up inflicting unnecessary harm. Sacramento's sins here are comprehensive. Regulators have suppressed prices for years. Despite widespread wildfires, average premiums in the state of California are 1/3 lower than in other states with serious fire risks, and 2/3 lower than in Florida with its hazards of seasonal hurricanes. The state won't allow the cost of reinsurance, whereby risks are spread to other companies, a sound and essential business practice, to be priced into insurers' premiums. It won't allow premiums to begin to recover their gargantuan losses from the wildfires of recent years. California blamed the State Farm bombshell, aside from the usual charges of greed, to climate change. That rationale is a smokescreen for regulatory malfeasance. California's land management over the years has been atrocious. Fires for decades have been aggressively suppressed, allowing the accumulation of underbrush that has made extensive areas open to devastating firestorms. The wisdom of indigenous tribes of the past in engaging in controlled burns to prevent such catastrophes has been ignored. Worse, California has been oblivious to what is done in other parts of the country today, particularly the Southeast. Fires involving millions of acres are not suppressed. The record in California for one-year insured losses to wildfires is almost 30 times that of the state of Texas, and even more than in other states. The lesson is clear. Even in California, reality can't be ignored forever. I'm Steve Forbes. Thanks for listening. Do send in your comments and suggestions. I look forward to being with you soon again.
So it does make you wonder, like, what is really going on in California, right? What is going on out in Malibu, Los Angeles? And when you really dig into it, so I did, and it blew my mind to see some things that I did uncover, right? And I'm not saying that I'm the craziest, whatever. I guess I probably am looking like a conspiracy theorist, but I thought for me it was this coordinated, right? And I said like this, right? And it took me a minute to believe it, right? I don't see our government doing this. But then when you think about it and you put everything together, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want to cause a mass chaos? Why wouldn't they want to and it's all types of ways. It's fear. You know, you got people coming out making different Facebook posts, Instagram, Twitter, whatever they and they're scared. It's all about fear. So, but if you're educated, you already understand what they're doing. And they want to, it's called a Roman circus theory. Bread and circus. You get the people to go crazy, you cause chaos, and you get control, right? Because when there's government control, that's what this is all about. And that's how I feel, right? Because I feel like there is a bigger picture, right? One, they cleared this is for me, right? They cleared land in targeted areas, whether it's wildfires. Damn, I thought I just seen something. Maybe I didn't. Oh, that's that other shit. I'm going crazy. Certain neighborhoods are being systemically cleared out. Number two, it forces people into urban zones by displacing families. They're pushing more and more people into dense, controlled urban areas. And not only that, but they eliminate private property ownership. The dream of home ownership is being replaced by endless renting and dependence. So you have to understand that there's multiple things going on uh, with these fires and these, these natural disasters. Why are we having once in a lifetime, storms? But why now? And then when you look into Point Magoo, here's another one. They consolidate control of resources. At the end of the day, this is about power. Who owns the land, the water, the energy, and ultimately your freedom. These aren't conspiracy theories, they're coordinated operations. The technology exists, and the players behind the scenes have every reason to use it. So why? That's the whole thing of it is like when you look into Point Magoo and you look at everything they've done with the D. Hold on, because I posted it on Twitter. Uh, Let me get it up there because that's what I'm saying. That the technology is there. Why wouldn't they? Even if they're simply, it is being used for testing or it's being used for something. And it's not like we can't sit here and say, oh, well, maybe not. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, it literally is that these people are using things that are literally above us, that are literally that unless you open your mind, right, and understand what is going on, right, and maybe it's not completely what I'm saying, this government program and the Navy Academy and all that shit. But if it makes sense, if it adds up, it makes sense, right? Isn't that what we were always told? Because it's, to me, we always were, especially lately, right? We all these things about climate control, climate change, right? So what about directed energy weapons? Right? We see all these fires that are happening in California, right? But then why isn't nobody asking the question of how are we getting these? Right? Because I don't care. So, I mean, I do care, but look at this. Look at the map, right? And I did this for a reason. So in Malibu, which isn't far from Point Mabu, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's 32 miles, right? 32 miles. And you see all the fires. But then yet these weapons have the capabilities of that for miles, for more miles than what it is for that they're starting these fires, right? So why wouldn't the government do this to cause mass chaos, right? And then I think about this. So the U.S. Navy, they opened a $23 million laser weapon lab at Point Magoo, right? Again, I'm gonna show y'all. It's 55 minutes. It's 32 miles, right? And that's because it's probably the time is like that because of the fires going on right now. So we'll just say, not even say a 30-minute drive, right? Not even a 55-minute drive, right? But I want y'all to know this is the first and only. So why is it funny? I shouldn't even say it's funny, but it's weird that there's certain things that come out. And see, there was a test done, and I'm trying to get more on this testing that was done at Point Magoo at their base, right? Because there was something done in the last couple days, and it makes you wonder about Maui. It makes you wonder about Honolulu because these programs, they have submarines and unmanned things. You know what I'm saying? That get you to. And there goes Charlotte. Mayor, oh, that's Mayor Charlotte. That's her name, I guess. But man, there's a lot going on, and it's really weird of how why. Like, does it benefit them to put people in chaos? Does it benefit them to um damn. I thought they couldn't do warrants at 5:30 in the morning. Fuck out of here. That's crazy. Damn, there's a lot of niggas though. Damn. Oh damn. Okay, so let me read this. Brooklyn Park SWAT high risk warrant service information release. At approximately 5:30 a.m. on January 9th, 2025, the Brooklyn Park Police Department SWAT team executed a high-risk search warrant in the 6400 block of Zealand Avenue North. The warrant was related to an ongoing domestic violence investigation. What the fuck? Oh, wow. And of course, they put somebody in there from another fucking country. So my bad, I shouldn't really interrupt it like that. During the course of the investigation, detectives developed information suggesting that the subject may have been in possession of castor beans, a known hazardous substance. Due to the potential hazmat concerns, assistance was requested from specifically trained personnel with the FBI and with the Minnesota National Guard 55th Civil Support Team. Several individuals were located inside the residence and were safely detained without incidents. Sua Tao, a 54-year-old male from Brooklyn Park, was arrested and is currently being held at the Hennepin County Adult Detention Center on probable cause for a attempted murder. Investigators and hazmat personnel remain on scene processing the residence. The property is secured and the hazmat situation has been contained and under control. There is no danger to the public at this time. The investigation in its early preliminary stages and the information provided in this press release reflects what is known at this time. That's okay. I was about to say, God damn, that's grok. That makes more sense though. I guess it really, yeah, the words, I could tell right there that you can tell that's AI because the words are misspelled. But then that looks like a Minneapolis neighborhood. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but damn. So yeah, at least they put the grok on there, grok AI, right? I guess I didn't see that. See it now. Wow, that's crazy, man. It's like, when are we as people going to start paying attention to what is going on around us? You know what I'm saying? Because elections do have consequences. I put that on everything I love. They have consequences. And I obviously don't know. It seems to me like they're trying to put the fires going on right now out of people's minds. Because if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Damn, 2.2 million post number 2. I don't know what the fuck that Dom. That's probably some shit we don't care about. Little to none. Wow, this shit's crazy, man. This is James Woods. This is an hour ago. He said little to none when asked how many fire hydrants were getting full water from. This was the fire captain's answer: little to none, and the building burned. That should be the new hashtag of Democratic failure of all over California. Little to none. Wow. I mean, it is bad, though. I mean, and it does make...
And they realized there was nothing they could do except we saw an apartment building engulfed in flames. I saw the fire engine pull up this afternoon, a fire captain have one of his firefighters attach a hose to a hydrant.
Damn, there was no pressure.
That hose didn't fill up, Alex.
Wow.
And I asked the captain,
that's
out of
sad.
every 10 hydrants you attach to today,
look at that.
on average, how many are you getting full
long.
water from? He says little to none.
Wow.
And it was at that point that really the whole crew stopped, looked up at this apartment.
This is like... This makes you think like, damn, this cannot be from like our country, but it is. And it's crazy. Like, we're watching people's cameras and they can see their houses being destroyed by this fire. I mean, it's fucking sad. Right by the ocean. Crazy. Look at this. Crazy, man. I'm gonna be 100% honest. This is some wild ass shit. Homeless encampments, freak liberal agendas, all combined with no common fucking sense. I'll be there. Yeah, I agree with that one. Because these people have no common sense. And it's like, I agree with this. Santa Ana winds, low humidity, and fires have existed in the state of California forever. The state's lack of leadership, Newsom, has been unwilling to invest in permanent solutions like burying electrical, increase access to plentiful water, and managing forestry floors. Instead, he wasted hundreds of billions on high-speed rails to nowhere, liberal agendas, and climate conspiracies. Wow. And I mean, it's crazy because these are like everyday people. These aren't just like celebrities. These aren't like, um, people that should be, uh, this shit is wild. This is like me, you, because if you're broke, if you can't move, if you can't afford to do anything, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do if you can't afford to leave the area, right? You can't afford to just go pick up everything and just go move into another home, right? You might have lost everything, whatever was in that building, whatever was in that structure. But that's crazy. I mean, it's look at this fucking picture. That picture is worth 1,000 words, man. Because you never thought. So I want to read this, right, to all those boasting their words that Hollywood and California would burn down and be judged. They would if they don't repent, whether God told you or not. Not the point of this post. I want to share about heart posture, a heart check. Make sure you're not utilizing a platform to put yourself on a pedestal, saying, "Look at me." Instead of being on your knees crying out for God to change his mind if he sees 100 worthy, 10 worthy, 1 worthy, check your heart. Make sure your heart is in the right place. For not being in California or Hollywood, rescuing people, sharing Jesus because you knew this would happen. I bet if your kids live there, you're doing all you could. Check your heart. Make sure you're opening up your doors and buying hotel rooms, gas, anything to support these families that are now losing everything. Check your heart. There are believers out there. There is, and that's one thing that I will believe. There is a lot of people out there that do care. There are believers there, They don't deserve to be saved. Check your heart. Whether you believe God said this or that or not, God operates. I don't know why my mouse is acting weird. God operates out of a place of love, a heart posture of a loving Father. Say what you will as God instructs you, but always do it from a place of love. While yes, he hates sin, he still loves his creation, people that were created in his image. Let's show love to people that are losing everything right now. Maybe it's time for everyone who had that word to be like Nehemiah, leave everything and go rebuild California, because that's where God's heart is if he chose to burn it down. God bless those who are in the fires, recovering from the floods, preparing for the snowstorm, tornadoes, hurricanes, loss. Make yourself known to them. Visit them. Send your angels to minister to them. And may they encounter you like never before. Peace beyond all understandings. Restful. Sleep through the night. Turn things meant to harm you into good. Send more revival to America, to California, to your body. I'm going to say that again because turn things meant to harm into good. Send more revival to America, to California, to your body. And I do believe that, because when you look at, turn everything that's, a negative. And that's one thing that I'm really trying to, is to turn negatives into positives. I'm not trying to look at everything negatively anymore, because yes, I did have a stroke and a brain bleed, and I still have some function though that I don't even understand that, I mean, you can even tell in my speech that I can't say all the words even, right? Because I mean, god damn, it frustrates me, but it's part of it doesn't kill me. What makes me stronger, you know what I'm saying? And that's where I'm gonna keep on going that route. But damn, that picture is worth 1,000 words, man. It's a crazy ass picture. And that's America. That's not across somewhere else. That's over here. You know what I'm saying? So, that's crazy. I can't believe that storm. I can't believe these fires. And I can't say that it's man-made, because it's more coming out. It's all seems like it's something that was started from being negligent. You know what I'm saying? People are starting these fires. There's pictures coming out. There's video coming out. People in masks, and there's mass looting has been. that people are breaking into stores, but I mean, I get it, because what else are you supposed to do? Like, if that's the crazy part, like, damn, that's crazy. Wow. January 8th. I mean, that's fucking wild. That is, look at this shit. I mean, we can't say that that's not crazy. I mean, can we like even literally say that right now we're looking at places in America when we look at this? Because how is this not like, so all of a sudden, look at this. So you mean to tell me that there was fire, now there's not? Right. This is Apple. Damn, that's what I mean. Literally, like, it's, everybody talks about 9/11. How the fuck isn't this like 9/11? Because if our own government is using machines like our weapons, I shouldn't say machines. Maybe I will say machines, like AI, to harm their own people, and we know that they've done this before. We know that when it came to, let's say, the movement, when it came to Malcolm X, when it came to Martin Luther King, they have taken our leaders, people that were truth tellers, out of so they wouldn't wake people up. And that's what I feel is happening again. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I already looked at this. I already looked at that picture. I looked at that video. Where's all the pictures at? There goes one. There goes some more pictures. Damn, that's insane. I mean, come on now. That cannot be. Wow, this cannot be. I need somebody to do okay. That's in Gaza. Damn, no way. That's got to be Gaza too. That can't be no way. Wow. Wow. That's from the fire. That's crazy as hell, but I actually do believe that it was from, yeah, I don't even know what to say, man. This is wild. I mean, like, we all know, look at from the airplane. Wow. That is wild. Wow. I mean, what's crazy is, what are you going to tell your kids? What are you going to, as they're growing up, like, what are you going to remember about this fire that has destroyed lives? Damn, look at this shit. How's this not fucking directed, man? I swear to God. Because here's the thing of it is, you look at it, all the houses are gone, but the trees aren't. So how is it not, man? That's wild. And there's still leaves. There's still leaves on the trees. Because how aren't trees going down on fire, but the houses, all that shit is? That's wild to me, man. I swear, I don't understand that.
Chief Information Officer at the City of Los Angeles. As you know, we live in a world full of urban challenges. From traffic congestion that takes our time and pollutes our environment, to natural disasters that threaten the safety of our communities. To address these challenges, Los Angeles looks to smart city technology that can positively transform our urban environment. While not a silver bullet, technology provides solutions that were previously unavailable to the generations who lived before us. It is technology that enables transparency in our policing and gives a powerful voice to our diverse communities. It's technology that innovates alternative energy sources to reduce pollution and limit our carbon footprint. And it is technology that provides ultra-high-speed internet connectivity for LA residents and businesses to do amazing things. Technology enables the city of LA to efficiently and ethically improve the quality of life for our residents, businesses, and visitors. In other words, when done right, technology makes us
watch this. It's about 5 minutes long. We're gonna watch this.
That's why the city of Los Angeles strives to be.
Because I really do want people to understand, like, what's going on, and are we behind it? Because our own government, our own taxpayer dollars causing this.
Summer Olympics and Paralympics. Technology has transformed almost every facet of our lives. According to the Pew Research Group, 81% of Americans connect with each other through handheld smartphones, and 71% are active on social media.
I know, that's what's crazy, and I don't understand it.
Digital, connected,
they think,
online. Likewise, at the City of Los Angeles, Technology is fundamental.
Hold
to
on,
how we
because
function
Robert
and
makes
manage it.
a very good point, and I want to talk about this, right? Because I've been up all night looking. He sent me some shit like I actually got to say, Robert is they're causing me going down the rabbit hole, right? But I'm okay with that because you know what I'm saying. And I got to give it up to Jewel. I know it's not a real person. Jewel is the one that made me see that AI was further than they thought. I think he's live right now doing a show, Scott Adams. And he's saying all these things, but it's already been done and proven. If people would look at what Jewel was able to do, I'm not saying that everything, 9 times out of 10, Jewel was right. And she gave sources of how they were getting here. And if you don't understand the history of certain things, you're not going to get what Jewel was coming from. And Jewel would always give you sources to make you understand something. And to be honest, I don't look at racism the same anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how can I call it racism when a black man or a black woman is shutting down opportunities because at the end of the day, they got it. So they don't want to see nobody else as in the same position as them. They don't want to see other win. They don't want to see other people win. And that's the point of this. It's like that video, I want to get back into that because it really does. And it makes me wonder, especially about this one. Number one is because they cleared the land, right? They targeted areas, whether it's wildfires or floods, certain neighborhoods are being systemically cleared out, right? And what they're talking about when it comes to the urban, right? The force people in the urban areas, urban zones, is by displacing families. They're pushing more and more people into dense, controlled urban areas, right? Controlled. And why are we going for that? Why are we going for that? And people don't understand that. And maybe one day we will. And we need to hurry up because I see a lot of people are watching the news now and getting informed. Well, welcome to the party. You're a little late, but just like late is better than never, because there's a lot of people that don't want to, they look at the picture, right? But they understand that they have, I'm going to go into it because I was just talking to Ashley this morning about this shit.
Traffic, planning our communities, engaging our constituencies, and protecting our residents. Through the coordination of both existing and emerging smart city technologies, we are positioned to transform the way we live, work, and move around LA. In LA, we believe smart cities are much more than software you purchase or sensors that you install in the cityscape. A smart city is an integrated, intelligent urban ecosystem comprised of multiple ingredients that must work together for the benefit of the public. This would include, first, smart city infrastructure. This is the physical technology used to deliver smart city technologies, such as Department of Transportation's ATSAC traffic management system, which uses 4,500 connected traffic intersections to reduce travel time by more than 13%, or the Public Works Street Lighting's 165,000 LED street lamps that saves $3 million a year in electricity. Second, are smart city data tools. This is the ability to share information across the smart city when you need it, where you need it, such as sanitation's Clean Streets program that proactively improves street cleanliness across 6,500 miles of LA streets, or our Data Science Federation, which every semester matches university data scientists in training with LA urban challenges. Third is Smart City Digital Services, which are the apps and websites used to digitally deliver city services to the public, including the award-winning MyLA 311 mobile app, providing access to 1,500 city services through your smartphone, or the Shake Alert LA app that provides up to 45 seconds of advance warning of a coming earthquake. Fourth, are smart city connectivity and digital inclusion. This is the work that we do to ensure that
elections have consequences. I'm going to keep on saying that. Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences.
By the city of LA to families in need
right.
Our Cycle LA program.
You are so correct. And the crazy thing of it is that people don't even understand, right? My mom was in Minneapolis not even that long ago. I think it was last month. And she said, has your phone ever switched to 6 on there? And I said, no, what the fuck are you talking about? And she's like, in certain areas in Minneapolis, her phone will go to 6G. And I'm like, wait, I thought that wasn't even out yet. I knew they were trying it. They were experimenting with it. But I didn't realize that there were certain people out here that there were certain cell towers that would give off the signal for 6G. So there's a lot of things happening and people really honestly, they don't understand it. And maybe I should say they should get it. They should really understand it because we're being left behind and we're being left behind for a reason.
Investments in smart city efforts across all of our 42 city departments. In fact, the City of Los Angeles is a founding member of the I3 Consortium, along with the University of Southern California and 90 other partners, which has built an open source Internet of Things data aggregator as a smart city data marketplace. As you can see, LA's vision for becoming a smart city is already becoming a reality. As a 3-time United States Digital City Award winner, the City of Los Angeles has been investing in the infrastructure, the apps, and the data tools to be a globally recognized smart city. But as technology evolves, so our smart city must evolve too. That's why we have developed our Los Angeles Smart City Strategy, known as Smart LA 2028, as a roadmap to the 2028 Summer Olympics. It includes 56 new goals that use technology to transform the way we live, work, and move around LA. Check it out here. Thank you.
How don't people not see that as control? That's one thing that I've always wondered, right? Is how do you not see the things that they are trying to do? I shouldn't even say that they're trying, they're doing it. We see it in real time. You know what I'm saying? So I will never understand that at all. I will never how people sit there and just look the other way. And honestly, what else can you call it? Because people look the other way. That's wild. That's hell. So, I mean, California is wild. I mean, but it falls back. Like I said, everything is like a glove. Everything is like our services, that comes to policing, that comes to everything. So, and honestly, I don't get it, because how don't we at least go for change when people are doing the same things over? That, to me, that's stupidity. That's stupidity, right? That's stupidity. So I wanted to play, that's what I wanted to do, right? So there's 2 videos that I wanted to play. And here's one.
Russia, India, China, and South Africa have declared war on the U.S. dollar.
DESIL, Directed Energy Systems Integration Laboratory Animation. So this is how something like would work if they had a DEW. Just look at that. So they're like, these are lasers. Lasers. Lasers, lasers, lasers. Right. Game of theory. Right. No, you're so right. You're so right, bro. It's what's crazy. And people look at this shit and call it conspiracy theories. That's what's wild to me, because people need to understand of what this is, and that our government and the DOD and all that is paying for this. This is taxpayer money that pays for this, right? So I got another video, and this really goes into detail, right, about directed energy weapons, and this actually shows something that they are doing, right? So this is a DOD. This is a video that they came out earlier last year.
The Department of Defense spends about $1 billion annually developing directed energy weapons, such as high-energy lasers and high-powered microwaves. These weapons can disrupt or destroy their targets at the speed of light. For example, DoD has developed high-energy lasers that have successfully shot down drones, but speed isn't their only advantage. They're also less expensive per use than traditional weapons like guns and missiles. Despite those potential advantages, DoD has had trouble getting these technologies out of the lab and into service. The Army has developed a detailed transition plan to support moving these weapons into the next stages of development. We recommended that the Navy and the Air Force develop similar plans.
My thing is they tell you in real fucking time and people still don't get it, right? You have to open your mind, because I will tell you like this. They're doing this. It's no secret. It's not a game. It's not, they are doing this. And I believe it was to prepare us. It was to prepare us as people, as a nation, as a society, as a community, as a neighborhood, to be ready for chaos, to be ready for martial law. Because what are you seeing in California out in Sunset Boulevard? You're seeing people park and leave their cars, not even leave the keys. Steve Guttenberg, if you don't remember Steve, he was from I forget what movie it was from, but it was some police shit. But he was a comedian or whatever. But it's like he's pulling up and people are leaving their cars with no keys. So how is he supposed to move the cars? But no keys, right? And it just made me like, damn, these people are crazy. One thing that I got for you is I want to talk about scams, right? I want to talk about especially what goes on in Minnesota, because we've already seen almost over $1 billion with everything that has to do with poor people, right? Compared to Feeding Our Future, to autism, to recovery, to senior citizen homes. It's all been just like these people just go through, and we vote for this shit, right? So a Minnesota man defrauded the state Medicaid program of nearly $7.4 million through a multi-year scheme using a personal care and health care assistant company, 120 Granny's Helpful Hands, according to charges filed Wednesday. Chavez had been barred from owning or operating a Medicaid-funded business 25 years ago after he was convicted of aiding and abetting a second-degree murder. But while his mother, who lives in California, was listed as the company's sole owner, Willis was the true owner of Granny's. He was highly involved in the company's day-to-day operations. The Minnesota Attorney General's office claims Minneapolis-based Granny's regularly billed Medicaid for services that it did not provide the clients. According to the charges, Willis hired a woman to handle billing who was romantically involved with and whose past crimes included identity theft, also disqualified her from such work. Attorney Keith Ellison said in a statement, when criminals defraud Medicaid, they are stealing money that should be providing health care to folks who are struggling financially. Ellison's statement said his office charged Willis with racketeering and 5 counts of felony of theft by swindle. Willis could not be reached for comment Wednesday. Well, we all know nobody likes to be reached for comment. Granny's enrolled with the Minnesota Department of Human Services to become a personal care assistance provider in 2012. According to the criminal complaint, and operated in an office out of an office on East Lake Street. The business was also enrolled as a home and community-based services provider. Employee interviews, bank records, and text messages make it clear Willis owned and managed Granny's. According to the Attorney General's office, former employees said he impersonated his mom during phone calls. Damn, how you impersonate? Get the fuck out of here. What, this nigga over here sound like a woman? This shit crazy. With DHS, and forged her name on documents submitted to the state agency and businesses' checks. Throughout 2020 and 2021, DHS paid almost $7.4 million to the company. The Medicaid fraud unit in the Attorney General's office also charged Catherine Kofogan, the woman whose past felonies had disqualified her from the working as a biller for a Medicaid-funded business, also in connection with the scheme. While at Granny's, While at Granny's, Colfagan stole employees' identities and used them to take out 19 personal loans, including to the complaint filed against her. She pleaded guilty to theft by false representation in October. Colfagan, who also could not immediately be reached for comment, told investigators she worked for the company from 2017 to 2021 and said Willis was aware of some of her past billing fraud and allowed her to keep working. He even impersonated his mother on phone calls with corrections officials to keep Colfagan get furloughed from the workhouse so she could keep working at Granny's. God damn, that's crazy. According to the complaint, she said some of the company's employees would report working for people at group homes owned by Granny's at the same time they were working with Granny clients at other locations. Some PCA workers would split their paychecks with recipients, which indicates services weren't actually provided, she said, and noted Willis was aware of the fraud. That's what I'm saying of like, you know, you just go pay your debt to society. We all know that there was no fucking oversight in Minnesota, right? There was no oversight in Minnesota. So, I don't know. I don't know what he is to Sharif. I don't know if he's related or not, but if he was, goddamn, that's quite the. It probably was. I need to dig more into it. I only saw the story this morning, so I don't know if he's related to Sharif or not, but I'm pretty much. You know what, Dan, you just made me think of the connection between, not think of a connection, but could there be a connection between Sharif and Dude? So, and Chavez. So I'm definitely going to check on that. Because I guarantee there probably is some kind of connection with, especially with the way that Minnesota is set up. And then but damn, 7.4, Dan, that's a really fucking good question. You just gave me some more shit to look at. Wow, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Sharif and Chavez, because that would be, especially with this next, because if they took from Medicaid, why wouldn't they also take from, violence interruption? Because that's everybody does that. That's the one thing is like, you see these Republicans are coming into office and, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it's like, man, you can keep talking about it, but what are you going to do about it? Because sound bites sound good and everything else really sounds good, but are you willing to do the hard work that it requires? And are you willing to listen to the people that are out here every day, that are out here fighting and trying to make their voices heard? So I want to get into violent interrupter group contracts and effectiveness detailed in Minneapolis.
Safety Department is about to make some big changes.
This is the office that houses the violence interrupters, trauma and crime prevention groups, and others. Fox 9's Karen Scullin joining us live in Minneapolis. Karen, there was a council committee meeting, and at least one council member was pretty critical of this group.
Yeah, really for years, there have been critics who have wondered how these various groups are chosen, how the funding from the city is actually being used, and really how effective they are. Now, these groups cover all kinds of jobs and duties. They help families in trauma or go to crime scenes to assist. Maybe they help prevent violence by making contact with those involved. Under new leadership for the last year or so, changes are finally coming that should offer more transparency with better, more flexible contracts, which in the past were highly restrictive. They'll also schedule meetings to share information more effectively. Another big change is using real-time data to help calm the chaos of crime. There is also desperately needed staff being hired to help carry all of this out.
There is not a formal collection of information right now. So informally is the way this is happening right now, and this is one of the things that we're looking forward in 2025 to having our technical assistance provider tell us how other cities are doing this, what's been successful, what hasn't, and then help us formalize this process as it's been informal up until now.
Overall, the plan seems to include more overall structure to the operation of NSD, and that should lead to more transparency of how funding dollars are being used, which, as we know, is several $1 million. Now, it's been a slow change, and I think that's a lot of the frustration. NSD moved under the umbrella of the health department and lost a lot of staffing. All of that's now being fixed. It sounds like things really should be rolling around April, just in time for the higher crime summer months. We're live in Minneapolis. Karen Scullen, Fox 9.
Thanks.
That's wild to me, and it makes me
For almost 70 years, the Rondo neighborhood.
Like, what the hell are we doing, right? Damn, because there's so much going on, man. It's like, do you people really care, or is it like more of, well, we don't? Because that's honestly at the day of what I'm going through. Like, do people really care? Or do they say, or is it something that they're just saying? Let's see. Oh, Alpha News is live. Okay, let's see what they're doing. So they're in court, have appeals. So we're going to listen to this.
So the district court.
Can I ask you about that though? So in your brief on page 32, you acknowledge that
it's about information.
Your client is not, or you're not aware of any court that's considered what benefit to the public means in subdivision 7.
Right.
And I noticed in your argument just now
that's
that
one of the big problems.
Obviously, it's phrased as benefit and then ellipsis to the public
so
in the statute in subdivision 7, but you are colloquially referring it to as public
that was charged
benefit.
With burglary.
And subdivision 15 is entitled public benefit data. And one of the arguments you make throughout your brief is that consistent with normal statutory interpretation rules, the court needs to give effect to all of the provisions of the statute. So why shouldn't we conclude that the district court did not abuse its discretion by looking to subdivision 15 when that subdivision describes a category of data that's entitled public benefit data and gives an example of that data as including information that will aid law enforcement. It also includes information that will promote public safety and dispel widespread rumor or unrest. Why was that inappropriate for the district court to consider in, if we accept your argument that the entire statute needs to be effectuated?
Certainly, Your Honor. Sections 13.82 and 13.825 are part of a large statutory scheme balancing the interests in privacy and law enforcement with the need for public accountability. And the fact that there are multiple different exceptions indicates from the structure that each should be treated distinct, and the fact that they apply in different circumstances and also have different decision makers. Subdivision 15 is decided by law enforcement if law enforcement decides to release data based on those 3 criteria in the statute, while subdivision 7 requires a request and a court order.
Why should we see subdivision 7 as a legislature giving the public the ability to do what it can't under subdivision 15? I mean, I understand you've made the argument that the way the district court applied subdivision 15 and using the definition of public benefit data to decide what that means in subdivision 7 basically obviates or eliminates the meaning of subdivision 7. But why shouldn't we see it as, no, the district court is considering that definition and the public has the ability to do what law enforcement can do under subdivision 15?
Certainly. I think this court's precedents make clear, specifically in the first energy policy advocates decision that we cite in the Data Practices Act, if the legislature wants to do something, the legislature will say so. So if the legislator wanted subdivision 7 to basically act as a backstop to subdivision 15, permitting the disclosure of data that maybe law enforcement could have released under those 3 criteria but decided not to, the legislature would have said that. Instead, what the legislature did was use broad terms within subdivision 7, giving a lot more opportunity to the public. And I also think it is important that the language of subdivision 7 is used in other parts of the Data Practices Act where there is no basically accompanying subdivision 15 like provision. We discuss the Energy Policy Advocates decision in the Court of Appeals dealing with civil investigative data. There's other provisions like in 13.825 subdivision G, there is a option for the public to petition for the release of portable recording device data that is not.
But let me ask you this. Would you agree that information that will aid the law enforcement process, promote public safety, and dispel widespread rumor or unrest is information that's beneficial to the public, that is of benefit to the public?
Certainly, Your Honor. There's nothing in the text of subdivision 7 that says those are the only benefits that can be considered. And that's consistent with other parts of the Data Practices Act that also allows for subdivision 7 like petitions based on just broad benefit and harms that are not accompanied by some sort of definition cabining what is benefit to public unrest or aiding the law enforcement process.
Well, so and here's one last question, and I'll stop. But I'm just wondering what you make of the last line in the district court's order, because as I understand your argument, you've relied heavily on the idea that the analysis the district court undertook was cabined in the way you just described, and that the district court did not engage in a true weighing. But the last sentence of the memorandum is, under these facts, the right of an accused in an active criminal proceeding outweigh the public's interest in seeing the body cam footage, only a portion of the evidence in the criminal case prior to trial. The motion for release of the body cam footage is denied.
That's one of the big problems with Liz.
Why wasn't that the exact type of weighing that you're saying the district court should have engaged in under subdivision 7?
To a lot of information.
Certainly, Your Honor. That final kind of concluding sentence of the opinion really does not summarize accurately what the district court did in concluding or making the statement that the public's interest in seeing the footage was outweighed. The problem there is that the district court's interpretation of public benefit, or what can count as the public benefit under subdivision 7, was extremely limited. So of course it's going to be outweighed by other interests, because the district court's opinion basically said that other interests don't count unless they fall under the type of categories in subdivision 15, or in the case of death while in police custody in the other statutory exemptions. And so if we're saying that the benefits asserted by Alpha News are never the kind of things that count, then of course any private harm is going to outweigh that, and that is not a true or genuine balancing test, and it's not what the legislature required and asked courts to do within subdivision 7.
So let me follow up on that then, because here's a way that I think you could read the opinion or the decision of the district court. I want you to tell me why you think this is wrong. It starts out the public benefit analysis, accurately quoting the provision that the court is supposed to apply about weighing the public benefit against harms to the public, law enforcement, or the subject of data. Then, again, on addendum 5, describes the public benefit asserted by Alpha News, which is to reconcile conflicting accounts of the incident as told through the public complaint and Mitchell in her public statements. And without weighing in with how I read that, it seems as though the district court viewed that as a relatively weak interest, right? And is then comparing it against these other public benefits that have been identified in statute, and continues over page 6 and 7 to identify the harms to, potentially tainting the trial, reasons why that would weigh against disclosure. And then I see the point about going into subdivision 15 saying, listen, this is nothing like that. And I think at one point the court says that it would entirely improper for the court to preempt the natural progress of a case absent true public benefit, as in law enforcement's public safety widespread rumor, which is the 15. So that as in, like, as an example, how is that the court, why isn't that the court identifying an interest, identifying the harms, and then weighing those and saying on these facts, we need something more than what's presented here, maybe akin to subdivision 15?
Certainly, Your Honor. The problem with making the comparison to other sort of cases and examples under some of those other exceptions like subdivision 15 is that it really is a false comparison, and it's raising the bar of what is required for subdivision 7 when subdivision 7 says nothing about widespread rumor or unrest or public safety. It says benefit. And so there isn't sort of a requirement that it has to be a life or death or threat to safety type harm.
Really,
and by sort of imposing that requirement on subdivision 7, the legislature is really, the district court is adding words to subdivision 7 that the legislature did not write. The legislature did not require those type of harms, but created a pretty broad safety valve for data to be released in unique and exceptional circumstances like there are in this case. And there's no requirement to compare those to subdivision 15 cases or other cases. And so making that false comparison really puts Alpha News at a disadvantage when if this case can't satisfy subdivision 7, then what case could that wouldn't otherwise have already resulted in public data under a different provision of the Data Practices Act?
She brings up a very good point.
And I would just add briefly that the district court's decision also in raising the bar and making it harder to meet subdivision 7 by those comparisons really goes against this court's decision in the Prairie Island, in that we generally construe the Data Practices Act in favor of disclosure. And so by construing the act basically in favor of keeping data private, that also goes against this court's precedents as well. And I see that I'm out of time.
So you'll have 5 minutes for rebuttal. Mr. Ramstad-Squires.
Yes, Your Honor. May I begin?
You may begin.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you.
My name is Dylan Ramstad-Squires, and I represent City of Detroit Lakes, the respondents. I would just like to apologize for my earlier jumping the gun on how to refer to me. You can refer to me as Dylan or Mr. Ramstad-Squires, however you feel comfortable. I'd like to kind of begin with Judge Bentley's question and how to read or to the appellant on how I read the memorandum. And I tend to agree that it seems to me that the district court judge looked at the other statutes as reasons where the legislature has already admitted that the public benefit or the public interest clearly outweighs any issue, and uses that to kind of formulate her weighing and how she weighs the subdivision 7 requirements. She spends in her memorandum 2.5 to 3 pages weighing the public interest based upon how she felt that the legislature
I don't know if they were or not
wanted that to happen. And actually at the district
council, as a preliminary matter, can you address the appellant's argument in the reply brief? Why should this court consider your argument, given that it seems that at the district court you supported the position of the appellant and supported, or at least didn't object to, the release of the footage? And
yeah, he was still with the
now you're in
department at the
essence
time.
switching that argument. Why should this court at this stage consider this argument from you and not deem it waived?
At the district court level, we didn't take a position on the release of this body cam footage, and that is correct. We asked the judge to make a decision. We asked the judge to make findings as to why that decision, if she released the footage, or if she didn't release the footage, as to why she did or did not do that. She did that. She wrote a decision, and now we are defending that decision. I think that it's important to, when you ask a judge to make a decision and defend that and make argument as to why that decision was made, it's important to then defend what we asked her to do. She did what we asked her to do. And she made a decision. She wrote down how she made that decision and the factors that she considered when making that decision.
Counsel, regarding those factors, can you address appellant's argument? In that sense, it seems to me the argument is that the district court, in utilizing Section 16, in essence, raised the floor of what they should be considering, that there were factors that appellant presented to the court that were not considered in the balancing test. Can you address that argument?
I think that in my opinion, when she uses Section 15 and 13.82, the factors in 13.825, she's using the district court is using those factors as ways to look at the arguments of the appellant and not necessarily and saying that here the legislature has weighed the public that has suggested the public interest clearly outweighs any harm, and that in those factors it's an automatic release. So the legislature has already given us that.
How the fuck is he an attorney?
Where
the fuck would
are
be
the
an attorney
factors
for me?
here
A stuttering motherfucker.
in relation to that?
God.
And the district court found that they didn't meet even or come close to that area, and therefore she denied the release of the footage.
That's not exactly what she said, though, right? She said the statute does not authorize the release of the data that the public finds interesting, and the district court goes on to say it requires release of data that is necessary to dispel widespread rumor or unrest, circumstances that are not present here. So to Judge Harris's point and to the appellant's point, it seems like the district court's raised the floor there by limiting her view just to those circumstances as public benefits rather than considering anything else. What do we do with that?
Again, I think that she, while that is the ending paragraph of her argument, she spends most of that argument discussing how the factors, this factor, or the facts in this case, are weighed against the other fact of how they stack up to areas where the legislature has deemed the public interest clearly outweighing. And I think that she is just pointing out that like in subdivision 15, those factors are clearly outweighed and we don't meet those burdens either. I think that she spends most of her decision talking about how there's weighing the balance of the public interest.
I'm sorry I interrupted Judge Harris. Did you have another question?
No, you can go ahead and continue, counsel.
Go ahead.
I think that overall it's important to, at the district court level, the district court asked multiple questions, all related to the public interest. And she then, in my reading of the opinion, she then spends most of the time dispelling that, talking about how, weighing the benefits of the public interest. And, even, the subdivision 7 says that we're supposed to weigh, the benefit to the person bringing the action or the public outweighs the harm to the public, agency, or any person identified in the data. And throughout the district court's memorandum, she weighs
right. I'm sure there
benefit
is.
To
this
the person bringing the action, the public, against any harm to the public,
I'll take that
the
back.
agency, or person identified in the data. And I think it's important to point out that in one of the people identified in the data is Miss Mitchell, who is currently facing criminal charges.
Right.
And a fact that the district court doesn't take lightly, as pointed out in her memorandum.
Can I ask you a question just in response to appellant's argument that in effect the district court, as I understand their position, the district court kind of imported the public benefit language or definition. I mean, I don't know if I'll call it definition, but the examples of public benefits in subdivision 15 into 7. So I guess my question for you is, on your reading of subdivision 7, are there public benefits that are less than those identified in 15 that are not as strong or as clear or, you know, reach to the level of what was described or otherwise different that would serve as a public benefit for purposes of subdivision 7, even if they wouldn't under 15?
In all honesty, I am not sure. Off the top of my head, I cannot think of any situations, but I also can't think of situations that subdivision 15 might only have, or would that subdivision 15, sorry, would deem releasable on its own as well. I think that those are situations of fact, right? And I'm not sure. I think that it because it's a balancing test, it's fact specific, and because of that, I don't really have any off the top of my head. And I apologize.
Can I ask you? So, isn't one of the problems, just turning away from the importing of subdivision 15 to subdivision 7? Isn't one of the problems that it seems the appellant has identified is that the analysis that the district court undertook in balancing the public interest doesn't really focus on the fact that the person who is a defendant in this action is a sitting state senator.
Right.
So if you look at the entire public interest section, it focuses on the rights of the accused, and obviously those are important and those need to be balanced in weighing the public interest. And as you point out in your brief, the right of the state to make to have a fair trial and to do this process, to execute this prosecution correctly. Trial, but the public's interest in this case, from appellant's standpoint, as I understand it, is not just because this is any accused, it's because this person is a sitting state senator.
Right.
What do we do with that in applying the abuse of discretion standard? Why isn't that the failure to weigh that in deciding public benefit? Why isn't that an abuse of discretion?
I think that the court, and albeit briefly, discusses the fact that she is, that because she is a senator doesn't necessarily make her ability to have doesn't lessen her rights as an individual to a fair trial, and that those rights are so high that the interest of her just being a sitting Minnesota state senator doesn't rise to those bars. At the district court, there was a lengthy discussion about how she was, Miss Mitchell was a sitting senator and how that provided some public interest. And there was a multitude of material provided in the complaint and supplemental material about that. And I think that the court looked at that. They might not have written extensively on it.
Over counsel, it seems to me that they looked at the fact that she was a sitting senator only for the purpose of the harm, that being that just because she's a senator, that does not mean that she doesn't have a right to a fair trial. It seems to me that the appellant's argument is that the public has a benefit in having a functioning legislature that is not gripped in unrest based on the fact that there is an open question as to whether or not this individual will remain a senator given the discrepancies in the story.
Right.
Is it abuse of discretion for the court? And as I read the opinion, there's really not much discussion as it relates to the public's benefit in having information to the Senate to the legislature so that they can function as kind of having a functioning government. Is that is it abuse of discretion for the court not to address the public benefit in having a functioning legislature?
I think that as at the district court, as the appellant pointed out, that the fact that the video will not show everything that happened, right? It doesn't provide all of the facts of this case. That is a job for the jury or the court in the criminal case to decide what.
But counsel, that goes to the criminal case.
Right.
Isn't there a function or a need for this information for the legislature in their own process?
And Shorty been busy, right? Liz's been busy
to
than
make a
motherfucker.
determination
talking to
so that
Minnesota right
process
now
can function. And did the court properly weigh that benefit in opposition to obviously
a whole
the
nother
benefit
fucking
to
atmosphere? She can get this
Senator
nigga out.
Mitchell and having a fair trial?
I believe in my reading of the opinion, when she's discussing about when the court is discussing where how she has a right to a fair trial and that right is great, that's when she is weighing that benefit. I know that in the decision she doesn't again go into great detail on that, and I'm not sure she outright says it, but
So if she doesn't outright say that, does that not bolster the appellant's argument that she, in essence, cabined the argument in the context of Section 15, Section 15, thus eliminating and not discussing a benefit to the public that should have been weighed?
I think that, again, I'll go back to, I don't think that she is, in a broad sense, using Section 15 as this is the factors. I think she, in her decision.
However, counsel, I recognize that we can extrapolate that and perhaps from that, but the clear language she uses is the language from Section 15. So if she uses the language from Section 15, how can you argue that she has not cabined the argument in the language that she specifically uses in her order?
I see that I'm out of time. May I answer the question?
Yes, go ahead and answer.
Okay. Using the language of Section 15, I think is the district court explaining how she came to her decision, and that she doesn't necessarily use just Section 15, but uses the sections, the statutes as a whole when making that decision.
Any other questions? Seeing no other questions, thank you. Counsel for appellant, 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Ms. Hall, not to cut you off right because I want to hear your points, but just before you get into it, I wonder if you could address one question for me, which is that the statute provides that any investigative data that is presented as evidence shall be public. I'm wondering how you read that provision in the event that body cam footage is that you're requesting is used in a trial. Would it become public? And I guess, ultimately, is there a chance that the issues in this case would become moot, assuming you would renew a request or get the data that you're looking for here?
Certainly, Your Honor. To address your question, I think that is the right reading of the statute, that once Alpha News has requested all of the data from the events of April 22nd involving Senator Mitchell's arrest. And so some of that data may very well be admitted as evidence in trial and then would become public data under Subdivision 7. It's speculative at this point to assume that all of the data Alpha News requested will be admitted as evidence to trial. And so there's still potentially some other data that will give the public a more full picture of what happened and increase accountability for parties on both sides, both the Detroit Lakes Police Department and Senator Mitchell that Alpha News would like to publicize as a member of the press, so that there still is potentially that data. And I think more importantly, Alpha News really is seeking to clarify the legal standard for Subdivision 7. As we've explained, that the district court really raised the bar on what counts for Subdivision 7, and this has implications beyond this case. I believe there are other kind of ongoing disputes in Minneapolis regarding.
What in that, just because your time is short, I think, if we're going to go down that path, we would probably need some supplemental briefing from you on why the mootness exceptions would apply, because it's a pretty fact-specific inquiry under Subdivision 7, as you argue throughout your brief, specific to the facts of this case. So, obviously, and I know you use the term investigative data, but what's before us is limited to the body cam. So I think we would need to know if that does happen before our decision is issued, whether or not there remains a live controversy here, so that we're not issuing an advisory opinion just on how to apply Subdivision 7 when there's not really anything to decide specific to the facts of this case.
Certainly, Your Honor. This is a classic example of a situation that's capable of repetition yet evading review. These requests can naturally get timed out, even though Alpha News filed this request pretty much immediately after Senator Mitchell's arrest. It has taken 7 months to get.
And I don't mean to. And you can continue that argument. I don't know that you need to do that right now because as you pointed out, it's speculative at this point whether or not that will happen. So I think my only point is that it would be beneficial for the parties to notify the court if that does happen, and then to present the argument that it sounds like you want to present on that.
Certainly, Your Honor, we'll be sure to do that. Briefly then, with the time I have left, I just would like to first address waiver. Respondents did not take a position below and stated as much just now. Going from no position to taking a position is a change in position, which this.
But throughout your brief, when you cite those cases, you're talking about parties that are seeking relief that didn't make an argument below. The respondent is not seeking relief; they're defending the district court's decision, and in many other contexts, the party is able to defend the district court's decision even if they didn't raise an argument below, and we can affirm on any ground that's apparent from the record. Wouldn't you agree?
Certainly, this court can affirm on any ground in the record. As the point,
her trial is coming up. I do know
I
that
think from
Senator,
Minnesota Supreme Court decision,
and
POV
especially with our
Stitch,
politics, I want to move on. I know this. I don't know how much longer this is going to go on. I do want to talk about Alpha News and Liz Collins and what they're doing in Minnesota, because there is a lot of numerous things that are going on in Minnesota, right? You have our representatives are at an impasse. You had Democrats who, there was something that happened in 54B with Tab Key, and I think his name is Aaron. Something happened with our election. Then we had 40B. You had Curtis Johnson, who at the end of the day, he lied. He lied about a position that he had moved, and he didn't, right? He was never maybe even in the process of even moving. So he was disqualified. And the courts ruled that. So right now, the Republicans have a majority in the caucus. I will say that in the House. And Democrats are threatening not to go to work. I think that's bad for our economy. But then as you see with Nicole Mitchell, that's another thing that is causing people to be divided and to be arguing and to be, sending threats. And like, come on, man. Why is it when it comes to doing the right thing, nobody ever wants to do it? We have to force people to do the right thing. And we should never have to do that. And I will say that to the end of time, we should never, never, never have to do that. Where did I put, here it is. So I want to talk about Akron a little bit. I want to talk about the situation where what is going on between their body cams and the use of force experts, right? So they have a policing problem in Akron. We've seen Jalen Walker, we've seen Jasmine Tucker, and Mike Jones. So we've seen numerous things, right? But a former village police chief repeatedly hired to help the city's lawyers defend federal lawsuits against the Akron Police Department, frequently writes articles and appears in interviews on police advocacy websites. Tim Barfield, the former police chief of Wellington and Lorain County, has stated that officers should kill without hesitation, that Black Lives Matter activists are terrorists, and that Black people have broken values, and a victim mentality couched in claims of discrimination. The following are additional quotes from Barfield, along with the links to the interviews and articles and posts in which they appear. October 5th, 2015, he said, "You have to be alive to be in trouble." 2016, thugs and bullies who are being memorized are heroes, are being memorized as heroes. And those who stand in the gap to keep evil from triumphing over good people are now being demonized. That was March 2016. 2018, the amount of crime committed by Black males is such a statistical bias that it is almost without comprehension. That was 2018. 2019, he was quoted, "Those who hold to leftist ideology are trying to undermine the American ideal." I don't know what year this is, 2019 again. So this was March, that was February, that was the next month over. He was saying, what? So hands up, don't shoot is a lie. Profiling is a lie. Police are racist is a lie. Police kill people for no reason is a lie. Maybe the problem isn't the police. Maybe, just maybe, there might be issues in society or culture that are problematic. In December 2019, he was quoted as saying, "So please don't be misled by those cowards who want a guardian. I have always considered myself a warrior, and guarding you is just a part of what I do. I also do violence on your behalf, protecting the weak from the evil. Evil versus good is a war, and it takes a warrior to look the evil in the eye. Be prepared to fight for you, even to die for you. Those who attack a warrior are cowards, are evil. Neither is acceptable in my worldview." Wow. That nigga really be doing, that's the motherfucking, yeah. That's December. So here we go into June of 2020. This is right after George Floyd. The narrative of excessive use of force and racism has been declared so long now that people have either weakened or refused to defend the truth, or they have begun to believe the lies. Study after study concludes there is no evidence of widespread bias in police. That's a fucking lie. Regardless, police chiefs have kneeled, laid down, and sold out their troops to appease the lies. That was June in 2020. Here he goes in June 2020 again, is in almost every use of force incident that has caused death, injury, or public outcry, submission to the arrest would have saved a life. Violence or bad public relations for everyone. I do believe cops do the right thing almost all of the time. That was last year, or I don't know, say last year, 2023. But this is somebody that they work with, and it really makes me wonder of like, why is it every time that we want change or we strive for change, we're always giving people that give us the runaround, right? It's never, this man has worked for Akron Police Department and the city in Akron for a very long time. And nothing's ever done. And it's like, that's crazy to me. Right. Right. I don't understand it. And maybe one day we all will. Maybe one day we all won't. I do want to pray for California, though. That is something that I believe will always remain in the hearts and, individuals It wasn't even much longer left. It was only live for a couple minutes. But we really need to do more. It's like we can't keep on looking the other way and be like, oh, it's just sad. No, it's not. It shouldn't be just sad. It should be why aren't we talking to each other? Why aren't we having these conversations to make everybody's lives better? To make lives better. Wow. Minneapolis leaders want lawmakers to end low prison wages and pay off U.S. Bank Stadium debt. City Council rejected some Frey administration proposals, including changing open records law to deal with vague or large public requests. Yeah, this shit's crazy. There's so much going on, man. There's so much. Here's another one. Below is true. Rampant fraud is ignored because DHS doesn't have mechanisms to detect, stop fraud. However, greatest fraud is actually Medicaid services with providers, daycares, and adult care is not far behind. John Connolly, Medicaid director, is entirely helpless and shouldn't be working for DHS. God damn. There's so much shit happening, man. It's wild. And I hope that you're paying attention, and you are caring, because we all should. Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. So this is out of California. This is 7 hours ago, right? And this was put on national news that there was an Eaton. You could see there was something in the sky. Watch this. Look at that. There's something. That's what makes me wonder, man, at this. And they're saying it's DEW, direct energy weapons. And it's like, how they had the laboratory. They got so much other things to be able to cause harm and havoc. It's crazy. I don't understand it. Right, here goes. See, this is what I don't understand. Here goes some weapons, right? Now look at this. I just want people to look at this. This is the U.S. Air Force. This is at 10:47. So this is just a couple minutes ago. Like, hey, y'all need to get in with the times, bro. Like, this shit is not a game no more. It's literally not a game. Look at this. Lasers. But nobody wants to believe it. Nobody wants to believe that this potentially, it does happen. Okay, let's see this. Let's see this one. Right, let's look at this video. That is like, wow. Wow, this is wild. I mean, like, and the people aren't paying attention. Like, that's wild to me. That's wild. Wow. That's crazy. Right. Oh yeah, I agree. That's what the same thing with the fogs. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's scary right now. You know what I'm saying? You know who to trust, who to. I will say this: is that grab your loved ones and tell them that you love them. Right? Tell them that you love them, because I don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? I honestly, I don't know. I just know that something is coming. But with that being said, man, I'm gonna get up out of here today. Y'all have a great day. This has been Never Conservative, and I want y'all to win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well. And again, this is DLN Nation. This is you can hit the QR code. It's in the screen. And this is a letter to God off my new album, DLN Nation, coming soon. Right now it's on Bandcamp. There's the code for it. So if you want to purchase it and listen to it early, go ahead. It's there before it goes to streaming platforms next week. But here goes Letter to God, featuring Divine Marie, Trip Young, Circumstantial Saint, and Urban Conservative. See you guys tomorrow.
I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the well-run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broad shoulders, cheering up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. Tell these salty motherfuckers to give up.
Politics and sinners, they all the same. Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best for my soul. I'm not perfect, God. Neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the receipts. I just want all of humanity to be free. And clean the seas and stop the greed. I want to see clean skies and all innocence roam free. This obsession with misinformation campaigns, false narratives, and fake prophets can be combated. Give me the tools, please. No, I demand it. We can be